who is who and who did what, but I checked all the pages that were posted. And first of all, let's shall we do one by one? Maybe.
Yeah.
Can we? Shall we check them through the screen? So can we? I would love to see them one by one and maybe give each other small comments on the homework. So I'm not sure how to do this. I would love to go the circle one by one, but then if you have your websites up in the Slack, so we could open them up. Yeah. Can we go from the top maybe?
Yeah. Try to figure out.
How about girls in the game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe let's do this.
Yes.
Maybe can you send your link there
Really
and then
good
we
idea.
open yours and you send your link.
Make the simple one.
Yeah, that'd be very, very good.
I have it there.
No.
Yeah, but can you send it now so it will be in the most recent post, so it will be easy to find.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
everyone shares the link
Yeah,
right now.
you just shared.
Ah, so we open the first one.
Yes.
Very nice.
Okay, so I see you use the tables and they use the list items, and I see from the background that you use some CSS. What we can teach you today is one thing, how to inspect. I mentioned last time, but you can inspect the code. So maybe we'll do this on this website, so we can see. So we can see a bit of code right now. How I can see what he wrote actually in the HTML there at the bottom. And can you open the head? So I just want to see whether you imported CSS correctly. Okay, you linked your styles. Yeah, correct. Do you have any questions from did you have any difficulties doing this?
That's fine.
So it's yours.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, I had a little bit difficulty with the same as I told you, the margins and padding, and especially to keep things on the left and then right. When I was using float and these things, it was not working properly, and they were like up and down. So that was a bit confusing for me. Like I couldn't figure out
Positioning of things. Yes.
positioning of
Okay, we're gonna cover some of this today, and we're gonna focus the class problem today on the flexbox and positioning. So we're gonna talk about this. So I'm not gonna answer right now. I'm just gonna go third. So did you post it your?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm doing the second one on the list.
Perfect. Good. Boxes, styling, lots of growth. I see you have a lot of headings in red, right? Did you use classes to style them?
No, I didn't want to. I just wanted to be simple like that.
Yeah, but that's fine. But I see that
I
they
put it
share
in
the
now.
same style, same styling. Do they all have the same class? Can we inspect a bit and
Yeah,
see?
see the.
Just okay. So you both. Okay, so I see in CSS you applied the H2 red color, right?
Yeah.
But then in this case it works. But the problem is, imagine you have now somewhere else heading 2, and it also becomes red, but you don't want to use it red. So in this case, I would suggest using class, and you can repeat in the same item class, but not ID. You know that you can style elements by applying class. You can see at the bottom there's on H3 there's a class Verdana. In this case, the thing is with the classes you can repeat them as many times as you want in the website. But I also see that in other works, other people in class also used ID, because you also can apply ID in CSS. But the thing with ID you can only use the same ID once per page. ID is a unique identifier. Unique means it's one of a kind. So if you use ID and apply to item, you shouldn't apply the same ID to any other item in the same page. Just remember that. This is the task for class. So if you want to style things, use classes and you can repeat them a lot of times.
Is it okay the class I have used it?
Yeah. Another thing to mention is try making class names very not easy, but that they make sense what they say. So it's like you could call it heading styling or main heading, and you can apply main heading. So it would make sense, because if you call it Verdana, I look at your code and I have no idea what it means, what the styling represents. So just future tip.
I want to just ask really quickly, can everyone see what's up on the screen? If you can't, please let us know, because it's a little unusual that we're sitting here today. Sorry about that. And we want to make sure you can see. If you can't, I can always try and make it bigger.
And I have had one difficulty about that, about the background.
Background.
that's a URL. So we have to change that to GPG. So that URL. So when I wanted to put the background, I mean the border we can see, the background border. So I want it to be a bit inside of the border.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be wider. So that one I couldn't try to find.
Don't forget, there's maybe in this case I'm not sure it would help, but there's two things that I mentioned and you guys should use as margins and paddings for spacing things. But there's both of margins in CSS. There's this setting called margin and padding. There's from the first look they seem like they do the same thing. They add spacing around elements. There's a core difference between them. Margin adds spacing outside the element, while padding adds spacing inside of the element. So if you have a div with a yellow background, if you add margin will add space around it. But if you add padding, it will add inside, so the element will be bigger inside of it. So this is the only difference, but you should try and experiment and try it as well. So yeah, pretty much. Very good example. So if we give the division a yellow color and we add padding, so the box will be slightly bigger. But if we add margin, it's going to be outside. So if you want to have one element and another element after another, you probably want to have margin to have space between them. But if you want to just, inside
For
of it.
example, the padding when you make the background, it's smaller. So you can just put like padding bottom or down and
Yes,
something
you can-
like that, so you can just change the pixel. Yeah.
Yes.
From his page, there's something like from his.
Yeah, he wants to talk about the previous one.
Oh, it's from the sorry, yes.
Yeah.
If you inspect, you put border, the element border.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Okay, don't forget, border is something else. Border is always going to be on the border of element. So if you add border,
That first one. The
but you
first
see,
one.
you already have space
Yeah, border.
around it. You see,
You see
the
the
inspector
first
shows
one, the
the
first
orange space.
HTML. I don't know what effect it brings in this page. You look at his code, he has border element. The first
On the what element?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here.
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
know
I'm
which
sorry.
effect it
No,
has.
this is not correct. You should not have this. Border is not the first. Is not the. Okay, I see a few things that you made a mistake. First of all, you put a lot of heading code into body. A lot of informational things like title, meta tags, style, link. They only can exist in head element. You add it in the body. Where is your head element? Which is missing.
It's down. Wait, maybe it is not
Then
there.
there
It's
are
not
a
there
lot
at
of
all.
Start and stop of styles.
Yeah, in the head. Yeah.
Oh, here.
Why your head is empty? So you should have had like all these elements. We can actually drag them actually. Yeah, you should have had them in the head, but I cannot add in the head. I don't know why it doesn't allow me right now. But inside of head.
Yeah.
So the title and a bunch of other things should have been there. So that's remember to put them in the You should have to test it in the semantic tool. And remember, HTML validation, it would identify these problems. Say, okay, this should be only in the head. And so next time, give it a try.
Yeah.
So,
I also had problem with revision.
mhm.
Yeah, and I don't know whether it was with my program. I couldn't use IUs.
Classes is both perfect. For instance, class that you have over there in the header, it's perfect because it makes sense because you're styling header. It identifies exactly what you're trying to style.
So can I put like two classes in the same place?
Yeah, you can have if you actually you can have more classes in one for one element. You can have header space red object space position on the top. So this could be every time you add space in class, it will be another class. So yeah, you can probably maybe give it a try and edit on the header, add something else. Like yeah, you can, for instance, flower has a flower, add the flower class. So for instance, now all the styling that was on header and on flower is applicable
So
to
now
this.
those are two classes. right?
Yes, two classes in one element. So I'm not sure which. We see they actually moved something else because they applied the class from flower to header. So now they're both there. And when there's also, imagine in the flower and in the header, they have the same settings. Like both of them, header says background is blue and flower says background is green. The machine is always learning everything from the top on the bottom. So it will read the CSS file and you will see who's the later one. So
I also wanted to make something like element where I can put them like separate. That I somehow had a problem with it. Using bodies like two bodies.
yeah. Not sure what you mean, but
I separate, like I put scales on one side.
I have positioned things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about positioning today, so it's good that you guys tried, and I saw that some of you achieved putting elements in different positions, which was great. So
I'm just going ahead. So
yeah,
I have
exactly.
a few more we want to see.
Very nice. You centered the element, which is how do you center the everything in the center? This is actually pretty nice. Okay, I see you inline code on directly on span. It's not a good thing to do. So because, as I said, you should keep all your styling in the styles CSS file or any other CSS file, but separate because then it's way easier to understand and read. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah.
I wanted to check it out. Styles, colors, backgrounds.
Yeah. Got a head. Nice. The body. Yeah.
Okay, now you have a lot of styling in the span. See it in line on the span?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a good thing. You should guys avoid doing this because you have so much. First of all, I cannot read anything what's written there. It's so hard to understand what's written there. And another thing that if I read your style CSS file, and I try to style something in span, and it doesn't work because what you write here will always beat what's written in CSS. So if I say span should look yellow in CSS, but there's something inline will be the one that is applied. So I'll be spending time on fixing my CSS, but apparently there's some settings on inline, and that would be a problem. So,
Yeah. So that's why we try to keep CSS over here, HTML over there. So you can always find it when there's like an error.
yeah, so don't do this. It's not that it's not allowed, but you should not do this. Let's avoid that.
Very nice. Nice headers. Yeah.
Very good names for IDs, but again, if you're using only for styling, I would suggest not using IDs, but use class. So, but I like the ID names. It makes a lot of sense. It's content, site page,
Very good.
very well named.
And it's a very nicely structured page.
Yeah.
When are IDs like mostly recommended?
When do you use ID? When you want to separate a unique item. Generally, when you're styling, you should never use IDs for styling. Styling IDs are used for, you know what? Can you open Smash Magazine's website? Smashing, you know what?
Smashing
Yeah,
magazine?
Smashing Magazine. It's a blog about. Yeah, first one. So I'm going to show you a good example. The articles. I show you the good example of when to use headings. So if you inspect this class. Class. Do they have IDs? No. No, they do not. They removed. They recently changed it. Well, a good idea to use IDs when you have some heading or something in your web page. It's a marker. That's called. You can use it as a marker. For instance, if I have if I have a article and there's special heading. Okay, where's the heading or something? Yeah, heading. You see, there's this thing called chain. So it means like I can link this place. You see, they used href, but also a hashtag. So you see, an H3 they have an ID. So what I can do now is I can click here, and you see on my URL there appeared a hashtag. So I can now copy this link and post to my friend and press enter. And what it does, it not only opens the page, it actually should jump to that place. It's supposed to. There's okay. Oh man. Okay, it doesn't work right now, but what it does technically does, which should jump directly to the place where it was tagged. So it's more of a use to identify a unique element of the page. So not for styling, just so pretty much nowadays it's very rarely used in some cases. But anyway, there's going to be a link, and I can explain why. I'll post today a link to where you can read about the difference between classes and IDs. So for styling, all in all, use classes.
This looks great. Again, like there's some information that should have been in the head.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me which information should have been in there?
It's CSS.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
Also, what's with the doc type declared
That's,
twice?
Oh,
So you declared the document twice. You said that it's HTML, and then again you did.
is there something wrong as well?
Doc type is always supposed to be on the top. Actually.
yeah. And then again,
They
this.
have a closing for that?
No, the doc type does not need to close. It's a thing in the top that you just declare.
There is a
I see. This is not okay. Doc type. There should be just the doc type at the top. Then there should be a head. And there should be a body. That's the regular HTML layout. So in this case, it would all be fine except the doc type thing was not in the right place.
And then again, there's a lot of styling on the span, which should go in the CSS. But otherwise, it's a really nice page as well. Really nice. Well done. Very nice.
Mm-hmm. Also
This was
declared the
really
language
simple
of the
and really
page.
nice.
Very good. The header here. Very good.
Mm-hmm. Again, everybody likes to style it, and then okay, somebody copied from someone. I see everybody use the same. Okay.
No, I think this one shows differently, but if you go through the source code, image source, or file source, that shows clearly.
ID
Because
could be that you
these
have-
things
You have some sort of that does a bit of.
Oh.
Could be. Anyway, the point
Okay.
is, sorry for roasting you guys.
Yeah.
but
Sorry.
It might be just the browser adds, for instance, Chrome sometimes adds some tracking, and it does this.
I'm
That's-
really
that's
sorry
actually your
if that's the
browser.
case.
If a lot of you guys didn't have that, but anyway, the point was that you shouldn't style in that code. So
Yeah.
So we take it backwards. That it was
Yes.
you guys.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
This work perfectly like my machine, but
Okay. Can we inspect?
It looks like a
I suspect that you don't have your
CSS.
CSS. Can we go to a head? There is it. Okay. Lobster. Font images down. Fast.
this is for the icon.
Mm-hmm. Font awesome. Okay. But where is your CSS? So you needed to put
Can you
to Huh?
Here you
Uh,
can see
can you close this site? Like right click on the
Let me
page?
see here.
Yeah.
Actually, click here.
No, just close this
Wait.
completely into the
Can we see
main
up
page.
it so we can see the console? Can you lift this up a bit?
Oh yeah. Sorry.
And the console right now. This line, I think. Where? Somewhere. Okay, so I can even see right now that it's missing some of the files that you declared and you added some JavaScript.
But it definitely doesn't know where the style is.
Yeah, it says like it doesn't file. So I mean,
Can you come to the main website?
Yeah.
Sorry. And just right click on it. And then view page source. Yeah. Now up there you can see the CSS link in the link area.
Yeah, style sheet. Yeah, I see. Style sheet. Style.css.
Which line number?
Okay, 14. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's number 14.
Yeah.
So have you uploaded another folder called style sheet, and in that folder style.css file?
Yeah, I have folders for style sheet, JS, images, data, everything.
So,
But the image is working.
Click on it.
Okay.
So,
well, I already see a mistake. You already have, first of all, the capital S. Under the code, it's not capital S. So, I mean, these small things is enough for code, sometimes not to work. So, you can see style sheet. You have a style sheet starting from small s. Yeah, but that's the thing. But that's the thing. That it's your machine. Your machine is not. If you ever do a website, then mine will come in. Oh, but it works on my machine and it doesn't work on the server. It will be your fault. So in this case, always try to do lowercase, but that would be enough to make not work. Anyway, but if try. I see you try to do everything right, but that could be one of the issues. There could be small space missing or some weird symbol somewhere. So always double check that when you link other files, that they're in correct exact naming and everything. So, well,
It's a really classic mistake that I do it all the time. That I don't tell the computer where to find the file. Like I do it all the time, and I was like, why is it not working? And then I didn't tell the go to this folder and then go to this folder.
I did specifically, I did like in normal ones, I did it specifically.
but then but that's the thing is sometimes you just take a rewrite. There's must capital S and somewhere is small s. You need to be exactly the
Because I
same.
did like 4 pages, so in each page I have to put the address.
Yeah.
I double check everything.
But it is a very often mistake, especially for instance, if you sometimes copy code from somewhere in the internet or the website. When you copy, it seems everything's alright, but when you copy paste, there's empty symbols that are actually invisible, but code readers they read and it doesn't work because that symbol is not recognized by software. That's a very common mistake. So sometimes it seems like everything is correct. I just sometimes just take and rewrite by hand again, and then it works. So it happens. So try rewriting it again, and probably it will work because it seems like you're doing everything right. So
The last one.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
So did anyone not share a link now?
Yeah. So whose websites are we missing? I'm pretty sure we're missing quite a few.
Yeah.
So are they on Slack?
yeah.
Did you post them right now?
You can post it again now.
So
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So we could see the yeah.
'Cause
Can you post it again?
yeah, because we've looked at 10 pages now. So I think we must be missing some.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming now. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I see you floated things in the different sides.
Nice.
Short, to the point.
Very nice. Yeah, good.
Added links.
And there are several pages here.
Okay.
It's very nice.
That is the core of HTML. It's actually the first version of HTML was pretty much text pages.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Look at this down here. You see? Very nice. I see this. Very nice. Good work.
And Christopher's email.
Did anyone now not post?
Is it there?
I did this working.
Yes, it's working? Okay. Okay, where is it?
So what was it?
The small
Told you, it needs to be the same. So It works in your computer, right? Well, that's what it works.
Basil, this looks nice now.
Very nice.
It's really nice.
Categorized groups.
And look at this up here. Okay,
Some
yeah.
nice CSS effects.
Okay.
Someone was
Okay.
doing some homework.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Navigation bar.
So,
Try opening some pages.
okay.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Very
So,
nice.
Basil, you said this last time when we introduced ourselves. That Basil has been here before, and it's so now he's in a great position. Whenever you have any issues, trouble with this, you can ask him, and you should ask him on Slack as well because look his page, like he can really help. Great, very nice. So glad to see that.
The third and fourth pages, I hope PDF file. Is it okay to put it this way, or there is another way to put it?
So you inline the PDF, right?
I invite it into the page.
Yeah, you should have probably set the fixed width, or at least limit the maximum width so it wouldn't go off the page. But yeah.
I can see when I look at this page that you had fun making it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. I can see it.
I have another broken of GS. I don't know
Okay.
JavaScript.
There's another one, right? Did you have it posted? Yeah. Pictures loading. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Very
Did
nice.
you make a round picture with CSS, or did you do a round picture, or just uploaded a round picture? Border radius, exactly.
Very
Well done. So
nice.
it's very nice.
Well
Very
done.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you see, in a lot of things in CSS, you can style not only code, but you can also style images as well. So you can. There's probably a square image, but you can make it round and make some effects on the image. So that's all about CSS.
Sorry, I just had a question. Like,
Mhm.
while uploading a picture or linking a picture,
Mhm.
is it specifically that the file should be a link in it, or we can upload it from our own computer?
No. Look how it works. Your computer is only your computer.
Yeah.
So how websites work generally, you edit. Give me a second. I don't know. I want to explain something. Websites are usually uploaded to a computer that's on the network.
On the server.
There's a computer that is always working, always open, and it's connected to the internet. So every time somebody writes a domain or like link to your website, it goes to that computer and it opens. But if you keep your image on your computer, you can't technically make your computer open to the internet and allow people to connect to your computer. But then again, you turn off your computer in the evening and your website doesn't work anymore. So that doesn't work. Another thing is while doing this loading images or files from one website to another, sometimes it's not allowed, and some browsers do not. For instance, you have this on your website, on the GitHub hosted, the image is on your computer. So if your computer is not verified source for files, it will, for me as a client, it might be working, but my computer will not allow to open it because it says, okay, this is a suspicious source. I'm not sure whether. So your computer is your computer, and
But
server is server.
Yeah, sorry. But if we have some pictures from, like, it's in our computer, it's not on the web. How can we link them to the, for example?
You upload together. So
We
imagine,
upload them all together.
imagine that your website is its own small world. So if you have your index file, you have your images, and you have your files, this is one big project. So wherever you put your index file, you take them all together and put them all in the same place.
Oh, okay.
And that's why when you link in your index HTML file, you don't write cdisk.myfiles. You write relative path. You just write, /images and .image file name instead of writing myfiles, blah blah blah. So this is not the correct way. You need to write a relative path. Relative path, it means location considering from the source file. So if this is the index file, you go from that place to find a place. So if that makes sense. It's hard to explain, but yes.
One thing I wanted really quickly to get feedback on was you all had a homework friend for this week. So somebody that you had as a partner, you had to show them your work, and they had to show you yours. And we will continue with that later as well. So I wanted to just make sure that worked for you. Was that okay? Did you? Yeah, because we're really hoping that is a good experience, and we also hope maybe some of you I saw at Slack some of you were helping each other. That's the best. We love when we see that. You can always ask questions, and we try to answer quickly. But when you can answer each other's questions, that's like so good. Really, really great.
And also make discussion on slides. So if you have, hey, how do I position things on left, right? Instead of, you can directly ask in Slack, and all of you start talking and discussing, and that will help each one of you, because now it's easy, and maybe we can help and answer each and every your question on Slack and try to communicate it. Later on, when the task will be big and you have a lot of homework, we're going to have a lot of questions, and to all of us, it will be really hard to help and answer each one personally. So it's better to have a conversation on Slack so everybody see and everybody have the same conversation. So let's do that. Okay, so we've seen everybody's homework?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I didn't got the opportunity to ask about my resume, but I've got a problem. I didn't know how to make border. I will write in the left of part of my resume, so I asked a question for you, and everybody tried to help me. I didn't get the point how to make the changes. Could you please help me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. Can we open that? Sorry to not see the problem. I haven't seen the chat. I tried to answer everyone actually.
I sent it.
I want to add a border on the left and the right. I see you have a border on the top somewhere, right? Yep. So you have a border on. Where do you want to add a border, for example?
Exactly in which the top, the information about my email is finished, and to continue the border from
But I
up
see.
to down.
Yeah, but I see you already added a lot of places border, like the orange lines, right? That's border top and border bottom.
The right
Yeah. So there's border top, border bottom. There's also border left and border right. So you can also use these as well.
I used, and also he helped me and gave me the tag. I tried it, but it is not working anymore. I don't know what's wrong.
Can we try adding just border right and border left and somewhere, just not the element. So for instance, right now I see in this element you have border right and border top. So the same way you can write border left. And then you can add border as well. So add Alice blue and 2 pixels, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a color name. Also in CSS, you can name colors in many ways. You can name them by hex code, RGBA. Actually, give me a second.
Yeah.
Element. Still. Boom, boom, boom. Then add. Boom. Just 2 pixels.
Yes.
Solid. I don't know where we are actually right now, but yeah, it should be working. Yeah, without space. What? Yeah. Somewhere we should add it. I don't know where we added it actually.
We edited it on
This one.
this one.
Yeah, okay, we can see it. It's very light color from the changes. Black. Anyway, I'll go there. Yeah, here we are. You see, we just added a blue line to your, for example. But that's the same way you can apply to anything else.
I need to go from here to down or from here to down, because it looks like that there is something black here, and I didn't add anything. I don't want to have to use this part of the page.
Yeah.
I mean the border from here to down.
Yeah, I'll help you later, but try finding the element that is here. This element, this block. Add it on it at border right and border left. Should we just this? Yeah, on that element.
Yeah,
Anyway.
but so we should do that
And then we're
later.
we're gonna do this later on the break.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now we decide which one to.
Yeah, let's use the make me, I guess, because it was already the make me.
Yes, maybe.
And I'll link the other one for them to.
Great. Perfect.
Okay. Okay, guys, can I have your attention, please? Okay, so today we're gonna talk about a few other things. We're gonna talk about mostly about responsive design. Yes. Yeah. I'll mention the area later. Okay? Can we switch? Mainly today we're going to talk about responsive design and relative units and media queries and, as you all really wanted to know, about positioning of the elements. So we're going to cover some float positioning, maybe some other positioning like absolute and relative, and also cover this new CSS3 released a positioning setting which is called flex blocks. In my opinion, it's the greatest way of positioning items. And yeah, so let's start talking about it. And
So let's. What's her?
you want to pause?
Yes, that's.
Can we do a pause right now?
Yeah.
Before?
Yeah.
Okay, but let's do a short pause because we talked a bit, slightly bit more about homework.
Just
Then.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
will be
Coffee.
So-
Bathroom. Great.
Just go small seconds.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Okay.
Yes. Maybe for the block ready, it's your zone. بسيارة نظام شنو؟ ما ناخذ.
Which part I'm going to be confused with? Okay, I see in CSS you have some quite substyling in this CSS. This is all seems correct and so where's the problem?
I don't know where to go. Like, yeah, now we find we want to show the thing.
Okay, where are your files? Okay,
That's I use also brackets. What the
you can always click on the item and just
you should that's it. You should then move CSS to the right, then put your HTML. And when
Yeah,
you
but
when
I want to see
you
website,
see
it's not that.
you should also click on HTML. And that's
Not, but it's not gonna always work. Brackets it's only brackets rather, so it's not it's gonna launch your website, but it's not always the best thing. Because what brackets does, it's not always gonna work with it if you're gonna do JavaScript or so it's fine. Keep your brackets. If you want to go to where your file is, probably want to. So this is where your file is. I'm not sure where you put them, but you can. Is this what you want to do? No? Sorry. Okay. This one. Is this the right file? Yeah. Okay, you already have a preset. I so strongly suggest you create every time you work on files, you create a folder for my project, and only put the files that are related to that project, because now it's a big mess.
Yeah, but I have to use the files. They are here.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So I want to
Do you want to open them in brackets? Right? Okay. So that's why. Okay. Very good. You need to learn one thing. It's very important. I think I should emphasize more. Is that every time you do projects, you try to separate projects into folders. So each, for instance, right now I see you have a lot of files that are totally not related to this project. So what you do is, okay, just trust me for a second. create a new folder, and then you can open in the file in any editor as a project. So let's say project. Give a project name. It's these two files, and then what else? There's also your image, right? So imagine you have a project. So this project will be with either Visual Code or let's say brackets. Use brackets. So what you can do is in the brackets, open folders, or in other words, open projects. So where you can limit downloads, right? So you can just click that project, and boom, you have only that project. It's very convenient, and that's, I mean, even more, I would suggest creating CSS, images, That's why in the now you can easily find all the files in the project, easily, images, and you can brackets. But anyways, it doesn't allow here. Oh, anyway, but yeah, but it's pretty much all the, and then if you do this right, yeah, imagine how easy to work with the project right now. Coding files, and you have your images. It's very structured and very easy. And when you need to upload something online, you don't need to go and find your files and just go in and a project file upload. But you'll see that's the habit, and I strongly suggest not mixing with other files because it's really complicated. You're gonna lose files, and you have bad files. You get mixed up. And also in GitHub when we upload the files, it's a GitHub, right? For example, there's going to be a lot of projects you're going to use online, right?
I want to ask you one question.
You're going to use
So,
GitHub to down
the
and
type
people have
sending
the
me that,
projects.
right?
What you
But
can
but
do
it
is
is
and download. You're going to use it a lot, so that's why this project.
the doc type.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
Yeah.
now
And on mine,
but from now on,
so sorry, we
Like,
realized
this
too late.
yeah, you can find but then it will be everything easier.
I got it.
Okay, practice don't call it, but you put visual
Kind of.
you call it like open there's a folder and workspace. So you'll see in the future if you have certain files, some project setting files, you'll see that majority of projects in the future will have this packaging. There's this one file that says what's this project about, blah blah blah. So every time the awesome and good code editors you open the whole project, it will automatically figure out what kind of project it is. So just I hope I answered your question.
I have a question. When I try to upload the whole on GitHub, that will not work as a whole file together. It wouldn't work, so I have to upload each.
Go get some coffee.
So I was wondering why.
Both the HTML and CSS file.
I put them all in one file. Yes. I wanted to upload the file from my computer onto.
Good compliment.
The downside, I've been looking on the website for such a long time, I wasn't able to tell. I cannot always get on that. I look at the website for such a long time, I can no longer tell if it's pretty or not, and I have to go to my mom, is this pretty?
We have 5 files. It's bad behavior. So you have to do it.
Keep trying.
So did you try to open the? First of all, I don't see index HTML. If there's no index HTML, there's supposed to be a first index HTML. So it's like that information is so could be. Which one is the first page?
That's the next step.
Oh yeah.
Mola migra. Mola migra. Det där det tillbaka. Det är bara en annan vad den chivo.
Yeah.
Lite ni målar om vad som är med fram med den.
That's why I asked you for the first page. Okay, can we go back to the
Ja, och vad ska vi säga gott verkligen det har varit betjäningskastning.
Kill this lamp. Now, I'll be more. Oh, does it? It's hard for you to see this lamp. Yeah, if you want, actually, you can see here. You can see better again. I could actually get off in there. Very good judgment. But the problem is that I need this wire, which is connected. Very good.
Ja, Go ahead.
I don't know. Just find another spot if it works. We're trying not to. I don't think it's going to show that much right now. Better?
Just in case, yeah.
It's better.
Charger. Yeah, it's still.
I forgot to switch it off for the break again.
So what?
Switch off the recording.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I really need to
Just
remember that for our lunch break.
Okay.
So we went through the give feedback.
Yeah, we can watch. So, hey class. So,
Thanks for taking a quick break. That was quick.
yeah.
I'm very happy with that. Thank you.
As we mentioned, we're going to talk about responsive design. Does anybody know what is responsive design? No, nobody.
Well, we actually.
Yeah. What is responsive design then?
It's to make your site work with different cable devices, different width,
Yes, that is
to fit.
absolutely correct. It's mainly to make your website work on any screen size, on any device. So if you try to open your websites that you made for homework on your phone, have any of you tried?
Yes.
You can see that things don't look as good, but now we're living in a 21st century. Everybody has a pocket phones, tablet, big screen. Somebody has 4K screen at home. So when you develop a website, you need to make it look good on every device. It means that your website needs to be scaled properly and allow elements to change on the different screen sizes. So there are a couple of ways to do it. There's a couple of that's called layouts that you can use. You can use a fluid layout where all your sizes are made in percentage. So the width of your website is 100%. So when you scale down, it's just gonna squeeze in depending on the screen. So it's when you do your design, but not everything can scale on percentage. So it's one way to do it, but it's not the best. And the other way is just do a responsive design and use media queries. So it's a CSS tool or like a setting where you can specify what happens on what screen size. So
Is it recording?
When we say in our CSS style, we can apply different styles for different screens. So we can say that if the screen size is smaller than 300 pixels, like 400 pixels, like your phone, you do your layout. Everything's in the column, so you don't have two like elements side by side. You have element under element, but when it gets bigger, the website just becomes. Yeah, you see, it's not very fluid or flexible. It just has a fixed layout grid. So GitHub is not really, doing anything to make it better. But if we go to some newspaper website, I don't know, New York Times or you can probably see that what they do. You see, they have very complicated layout. Like there's one column, second column, third column. There's a lot of navigation going on. And
You see how it keeps getting
okay.
smaller?
No, they're not doing it
Yeah,
as
it
well.
was doing a bit.
Just a bit. But then maybe you can try another website. That's bad. That was a bad example. Probably a lot of companies choose to do something else, but that's a valid point. A lot of companies, they know that they have a lot of traffic. So New York Times, instead of having their website available for mobile, they release the actual app to use. So that's a choice you can make. But these days, making a responsive website is just crucial and important because, yeah.
Let's look at this one. So I'm gonna now make it smaller.
See, elements, layout just changed to smaller.
Yeah.
And smaller.
And smaller and smaller.
But nothing is
smaller.
broken. Nothing. You can find all the information that you have on desktop on here. That is called responsive website.
See, it keeps on changing. Bam, 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 bam. And we can also inspect it in another way. I don't know if you tried this. Wait. So inspect. And here.
If we have this on the left side. Can you do this on on the three dots?
Yep.
On the three dots.
This one.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah. It'll be way better, right?
Yes. So I could click on this one. Has anyone tried this?
And then inspect tool, the Chrome browser, allows you to see how your website would look on
a Galaxy.
Devices.
So this is how it looks on an iPhone 6. Let's look at it on an iPad. So you can do this with your own website. You can take a look because if I make a website, I don't have a Galaxy phone. I don't have this iPhone. I don't have that iPhone. So I don't have an iPad. So I don't know how my website will look, but I can use this so I can see it.
But don't take it as a truth tool. It just helps you to figure out how it works. But if you really want to test your website, it's actually a good thing to test on the real device. So to do this, now a good question: how to do this? How to make your CSS respond differently in different screens? We use media queries, and we linked there are some links here that we linked that you can find and read more about it. But we can click now and then see how they look. So media queries is something you write in your CSS. It's very simple, and if you go down a bit, in your CSS we say okay media, and we say what kind of media it is. So in this case we say okay on the media it's just saying like device. On the device that has a screen, all these devices there are devices that are not screen readers. For instance, print. So if you, for instance, how you can sometimes press Control P and you print your device. So if you want to change something that when people print your website so it would look different, you can use media print, and you say the background then is white, there's no image, because people would save color when they print. So in this media queries, in media queries you can screen. So if you write just screen, it means every device that has a screen. But it comes with more options. Go down a bit. We can set max width, min width, and a bunch of other options. I highly urge you to read more about what you can say, but most of the time you would use either max width or max height. So what we do is we say, depending on devices width, we say what kind of styling we apply. So in this case, we only take devices that are, okay, who can tell me to what kind of screen size device this rule body would apply?
The one with the 699.
No, but it's not one device. It's a range of width. So it says like every device that has minimum width of 520 pixels. So it's probably bigger than your phone. It's some sort of it's in between. It's let's say so it's like a small tablet, but tablets usually start at 700. So it's those weird devices that are like too big. Or it could be your phone when you put it on the horizontal view. It's probably more than 500 pixels, but less than 699. So probably when you turn your phone this way, your background becomes a CCC, color that's a gray color.
Yeah.
So, but the point is that we set a range of widths to which we apply the styling. Yeah.
Just a quick question. How can you know the size of a pixel? Like how much is a pixel?
Pixel is a fixed unit, so it depends on your devices. Some devices have a slightly different thing, but I think we should cover this a bit later, which is also they have a different pixel density. So screens like MacBook, like my laptop has Retina screens. They have slightly condensed pixel. It's more complicated than that. It has more pixels per screen.
Yeah.
But technically, when you develop, it shouldn't be a big difference for you. When you develop, the question is, how do you know which devices are which pixels?
No, actually, what I wanted to know, like for example, most of the time when we are doing coding, we don't do it like by centimeters or like by that. We use pixels.
Not always,
So
but most
how
of the
can
time.
we find out that if something is like up to 5 centimeters, how can I give it into the pixels like 5 centimeters?
This is insanely complex because because you have all the devices. So you make something and you want it to be 5 centimeters on the screen, but the persons who are gonna look at this website, they can use any device.
He's saying that is there like meter, as we say centimeters equals to decimeters. Is there a range for centimeter to pixel?
Okay, let's
1 centimeter equals.
That's a good question, and let's put it this way. In digital terms, most of the time when you talk with designers and developers, they're gonna use pixels. Pixels is a very digital unit, which we use because we started using this unit because our screens are based on pixels. When the first screens came out, they had certain amount of pixels per screen. That's how it became a standard unit for coding.
Yeah.
So every time you open a design application, the designers design in pixels. They also use other units like percentage. In coding, we have percentage, we have rem units, which we're going to cover today, and few other like points and picas, but they're not as popular as pixels. Let's call pixels as the most used.
Is there a
Yes.
standard conversion for
Yes,
centimeters
it's a
pixel?
Yes,
Pixel.
but in the real life cases, you probably never gonna have to convert centimeters to pixels because when you're coding a website, because when somebody gives you a design in PSD or like I don't any other design, you can always measure everything in pixels.
No, basically what I mean is like, for example, when we are making a website,
Mhm.
so it's not, we cannot always go and like write, okay, 20 pixels, and then we save this file, and when we see it, it's not what we wanted, and then we have to comment again, okay, 25 or 30 pixels.
Exactly, but then you do
That,
it based
that
on
was my
design.
point, like, okay, we should have an idea that one, like 10 pixels is equals to how much in the length, so we can do it something like that.
I think you're missing the point. The thing is how it's gonna work. Some designer will give you a design file, and in that design file, he's done a. That's why it's called pixel perfect work. He's gonna have button with certain pixel size. What you have to do is open a software, you measure that's 200 pixels, and you put it in 200 pixels.
So what you
So that's
say
do
is
what designers
a
do.
designer wouldn't think about centimeters.
No, they will not.
Already.
Yeah.
So they're gonna give you right sizes. So you just have to use them. For you shouldn't be the person who edits in code and checks in how it looks. That's designer job. What you do is you do this design and then. I mean, it's not always the case, but most of the time in real life, designer is gonna have a design that you have to create in code.
Yeah.
The design is already created. There's spaces and everything already measured in pixels. He's gonna give you all that information. You're gonna have to know everything. So for you, just needs to.
Yeah, I think what you need to know is that the pixel it's what you call it's a convention.
Yeah.
That's what everyone uses,
Okay.
and that's simply it. But we can. I think it's nice that you have that interest. So maybe we can try and find some articles that explains.
That would be really
I
Yeah.
had the same, in the beginning, I had the same confusion. We were like, how can this be this and it doesn't work in pixels? Don't always. You'll see that other browsers also have different spacing and different. You'll face these issues later on, but take it as it is. Try using pixels or other units. You'll see that we're going to cover other units. But yeah, there's also a unit called view.
viewport.
Viewport and height viewport.
Yeah.
But we're going to cover them later on. So the point is here, do you understand the use case for media queries? Mainly. So
Yeah.
it is to set different styling for different screen sizes.
Remember the website we just saw? It changed in these jumps, right? Where it just like suddenly the text changed when we made it smaller and bigger. And those jumps, when it jumps, and
So
the
breakpoints.
breakpoints, exactly. Those are called breakpoints, and that's you're telling it here. When does this happen? At which size does it break?
So this setting, in web terms, when you read online, we would call it as a breakpoint. The point when your website breaks and design just suddenly changes a bit. Not the content. HTML never changes. HTML will never ever change in this case. HTML is something that we wrote, but how it looks, those blocks, just say, okay, now it's instead of 2 columns, it's 1 column. But we're not doing this every 5 centimeters. What we do in a web community, we figure out what are the most most used breakpoints. So in this case, we have usually phones range from 320 pixels, the smallest iPhone, to 660. We call this whole width probably a mobile device. Then from 690 to like 780, that's a vertical position tablet. Then there's a bit more is a tablet. Then from almost 1,000 pixels to 1,200, that's a desktop. So on these breaks, on this, we do change. We don't do every 15 pixels for every device. It'll be crazy to design for each device. But the more, the better. The better your website looks for each device. If you have time, you can make 10 breakpoints. But usually 3, 4, and in between, you can see that even though we have from 500 to 600, in that term in that period we use fluid units like pixels, percentages. I'm sorry, percent. So even if we move between, things don't break. They like squeeze a bit. They like a percentage we move. So anyway, breakpoints.
Thanks. So
That's an example. So anyway, guys, please do read these articles. They have simple examples and they have really well explained in detail how to use. And if you guys want, I can share most famous breakpoints. What are the right sizes for most famous devices?
So
Okay, maybe
should
we can go back to GitHub.
Yep. So that was the first one, media queries.
Yeah. Others we covered a bit last week. Other things that we wanted to mention. These are we noticed in your homework that a lot of you, even though you did good work with HTML and CSS, your HTML files were let's call it, you used the right thing, but it was a bit messy. You have a lot of spaces, class names were capitalized. That's why there's commonly used standards between people. We agree that we all write classes with spaces and nicely name them. Don't do capital letters on folder names, and because we know in convention that it makes problems. You write one way, I write the other way. We need to work on the same project. We can't because So some of the things we share here is the common conventions how to write HTML. It's a good example how to use correct doc types. For example, naming your tags. Bad example. In capital letters, you shouldn't use, divs in the capital letters. So I urge you guys to read this.
Yeah.
This is very, very. It's not like rules, but it's the rules that you should use.
And sometimes if you do one of these things wrong, it could be the reason why it doesn't work. It's a classic to do all these mistakes.
Yeah.
We all made them many times. So.
Yeah. So by following this, you're lowering your chances to make silly mistakes with some spaces and some words. So if you always apply this to your code, it'll be better in the long run, trust me. The sooner you start writing nicely, the better for everyone in the community.
Yeah.
So
And
please,
if you read this and you remember it and you see your homework buddies doing it wrong or someone else, you can always say it. Be like, hey, I saw you did this. You should try that.
yeah.
And it's not to be mean or anything. It's just to help each
No,
other, right?
Exactly. So it's a very good point. So okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Classes and IDs.
We covered a bit as well when we're checking homework. We showed you a few examples how to do classes and IDs. I mentioned upon that. But yes.
Someone was mentioning that sometimes W3 schools has bad practice.
Yeah, I
I
said.
don't know
Yeah.
what it means.
No. I mentioned I was one of the ones who said it's. What I mean is for art. This is an opinion article. So this is only telling you how to go do this. I'm not saying that they're doing bad stuff. They try to be good. But when you read some very complex explanations of rules and HTML, they used to at least tend to make sometimes mistakes. This article I read, I know it's good, so it's alright. But when you try to use some JavaScript and other explanations, V3 schools may not be the best place to do it. So, the sooner you learn to use other places. I know it's a bit confusing when we shared this link and we tell not to use V3 schools. So, not always the case.
But nice that you remembered that. I
Very
like
good.
that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Very good. Points to you, man. So, again, as we mentioned before, you can also mix classes and IDs in CSS. For example, guys, what's the difference between these two lines? Can anyone tell me?
Space between the.
Yeah.
Forget about me here.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Not only space.
The first, no. Can you remove
Yeah.
this?
Okay.
Okay, it's fine. The second one selects all elements that are like
The second or the first line? Second line.
Yeah, the second line. It's basically when an element inside of an element. Like the first element has the ID of what is it? What's written? Header.
Mhm.
And the second element has the class of callout.
Mhm.
And that's what the second one is used for. Maybe I mixed them up.
Mhm.
And the first one is when the same element contains both the ID and the class.
That is absolutely correct. If you heard, guys, if you okay, yeah, okay. So maybe I can show it. Well, maybe you can show it on a computer. So as she said, first, the only styling that would be there would only apply to one element that has
An idea.
ID and the class, but on the same element. While the other line means it's nested. So it means like there's an element with ID header, and if there's anything inside of the header element, inside like lower, with a class callout, it will be applied. So does it make sense? The difference, or we should show it in the code. Maybe we could show it in the code. Can you open the editor? Yeah. So that is important because you learn how to nest things in code.
So this was actually from.
Perfect, we can reuse this.
Yeah.
Can you write some HTML with two different cases? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just somewhere at the top. First, yeah, header could be or just create
What would you like?
Hmm?
What would you like?
I don't know. Create a div with ID header, and then with a class also call out.
Hmm?
Call out. I don't know what the name. Just copy this and paste it.
Is that what we just had? Yeah.
Okay. And then we also need to add an ID. I don't know, any. Cool point. Yeah. Yeah. So. And then create a similar example beneath it with the one has an ID and the inside element. Keep the ID in this one.
Yep.
To remove the class.
Yep.
And then create it inside. You.
And then
Inside of it, and then
with what, sir?
yeah, just another div inside of it with the callout class.
Like so?
Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
that's pretty much different. Yeah, and then good. Please. No, wrong.
Is that okay?
Yeah, better.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you see, when we then write it, it feels even easier to read when you see elements inside of elements.
Okay.
And now, so these two cases represent what we just talked about. So first case calls when it will only apply to the first element, and the second case will apply to the second element. Does that make sense? So the point is with the nesting that you can nest items and combine classes in the CSS. It's a core and butter for CSS because you'll see that sometimes you have a list of elements and you have a class for them that they're all blue, but then you have one element that needs to be red. So you add another class to that one, and you say that all the list items that have this class are red, but one that has class list plus other class is blue. So that's how you'll see that you're going to use this in a lot of cases when you're going to code it. Classes, they nest, they combine, and yeah. So these are, oh shit, there was an example over here.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
man.
Okay, good.
Next
Yeah.
time maybe we need to use it in the future.
Yes.
So that's the case, then you should try to use it more in your code, so differentiate. And by doing this, you'll save a lot of typing for yourself, because instead of writing another class for that element and repeating the same code, let's say like you have a class list, class with name list item, and you have a lot of styling, the size of fonts, the colors, but there's only one that needs changing just the color. So you just add another class that changes only the color. Anyway, you can also combine, as they show an example, and if we can go a bit farther. As I showed you before, we can have a mixed combination of classes. So we can have space, and it means both classes are applied. So, which is awesome. And you can write it in the code like this, or you can have separate rules as well.
So it's a little bit confusing with classes and IDs, and the best advice is to work with it. And you should take a look at this article as well and read it through, and just remember to ask questions if you have any, because it makes more sense as you go along. It's you try to make your page, and you realize that sometimes the most difficult part is to you know an element on the page and you want to change it. How do you grab it? How do you take it and manipulate it? You all tried that maybe you wanted to change a header, or you wanted to change a menu or something, and you had issues with it, right? So this is the tricky part, and the difference between ID and classes, it's because it's what Neo said. Like sometimes you want to tell it to do something with the whole page, and sometimes you want just one of the headers to be another color, one of the images to have another border, and this is the tricky part.
So, and the point is, it's all comes with practice.
Yeah.
So you have to do this, try different classes, different elements, and now it seems that it works and you maybe understand. But then later on, when you start coding really interesting designs, you'll see that there's a really big need for this. Then you'll be like, oh my god, how can I solve this problem without repeating the same code again and again? Don't forget, cascading style sheet means that it's a cascade. It applies to everything. So it means like you need to write in CSS as less as possible code and achieve the best result. So you need to repeat the same code as much as you can. If you know that 10 elements in your code all 10 elements have font size of 10, but they're all different elements. So you can create one class that says, okay, fonts that 10 pixels. And you apply that class to each element. So you don't need to repeat that one line of code in every class and every element again and again and again. So that's the point of a cascading style sheet. You try to create design rules in reusable code, and you apply it to different places. So you say like, okay, there's elements that look like this, like this, like this, and you can, So I hope you understand. So, and
nice color combinations.
yeah, color combinations. Well, you can read this at home, but it's opinionated thing, and it gives a bit of head up what matches what and what's a good combination of colors. What sometimes if you write on bright yellow background, bright green text, it's not really visible. So, but it's a dumb example. But it's important to understand that, and if you work closely with designers, you'll see sometimes they do a bunch of things, and yeah. So you need to understand a bit of that as well.
Yeah. So then
Yeah.
we have the exercise.
Exercise. Actually, maybe we could do it here.
Yeah, I think so. Until the break.
Guys, yeah.
We have
So
15
this is
minutes.
a good exercise, and I shared this page before, and I hope you're gonna use it at home more. These are interactive tutorials online, so I want you all to open this one, and this is a short exercise. It's gonna tell you step by step what to do and how to use a breakpoint. I think it's the best way to, and we're here to help you. So please open this one and click on the top, start.
And we'll do this until the break, which is in about 15 minutes.
You need to start now.
Right. Oh my god, that's a long password.
And you can see it also with the first class, that also mentions the same things I said, why we need to use breakpoints. So I would like you to do this exercise here, and if you have any questions, ask us.
Yep.
Yeah, keep this on the screen. But let's not do it at one time.
Yeah.
So we have instructions on the left, and yeah, maybe we could, but maybe people will ask questions.
Okay.
Yeah, let's keep it. I'll try. I'm totally.
What was that? Sorry, I didn't.
You just need to do the exercise.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the left it says what
When
to
you scroll
do.
down, you
This
see.
is where you code.
Yeah.
And this is what you see when you code. So when you change something here, just click run, and then we'll see the changes here.
Seem like a
So it's like a,
Seem like W3.
Does that
Yeah,
answer the
just-
question?
Where
Yeah.
are the measurements
Any
here?
changes. If it comes any changes.
Sorry?
The codings, relative measurements.
What do you mean?
Where is it in the coding that you find it? It
What?
was at rate of media.
Media queries?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Did you ask what did you read what you need to do?
Including just as three-sided images and then the instructions.
So then there's another tab of instructions.
Should I read this one? Or should I read this one?
I would glad if you read this first, but then if you go instructions, for example, if you click on instructions right now. This is what you need to do. Okay. We haven't talked about relative measures. Come down. You mentioned something pixels. Yeah, they mentioned your. Yeah, pixels. Yeah. Actually, that talks about your question as well about pixels. So you should read this. So yeah, first part is just to learn. It explains how it works, and the second part instruction it just tells you what you need to do in this. No, so this is your code. This is your what you're gonna do. So you can resize this.
This one?
Yeah.
Like this?
Yes. That's what they meant.
No, but what I mean is it's not the CSS or the actually.
Yeah, but that's the exercise. You need to do it yourself.
You have to put it?
Yes. But you first read the instructions. Okay, I'm gonna do this on my computer too. So.
Can you also see it?
Yeah, but in the first case, the first class, it says like when you're done resizing the project component, just proceed to the next exercise. So in this first exercise, then you actually don't need to do anything but read. Okay guys, I'm gonna do the same with you guys on this one. Hey. Yes.
You see, in media does not have any effect here.
You won't see it, but if you try to print the page, you're gonna see it on the. If you press Control P, print, you'll see there. Anyway, yeah, but not in this web. I mean, for instance, you're on a website. Let's show you one second. Find that. So, let's say page looks like, okay, that's article. That's an article, right? But when I do print, see it's loading preview, and this is where you would see that it would be different, because you see they applied. You see it looks so different. No images, no colors. So I'm pretty sure they have media query print, and they have styling that changes everything to black and white to fit the A4 page, and so ready for print. That would be the difference. Font size.
Okay, so it's already time for lunch now. That was that one really quick. I felt, but we unfortunately after lunch break we will not be working anymore on this exercise. But we really hope that you work on it at home.
Yeah.
Is it?
It's a homework.
Yeah.
So we make it nice.
Yes, you finish this exercise at home. We started here, but the rest we'll do it at home. So when we come back after lunch,
Yes, we will talk
I saw that we had a task here too about M's and Rems. I will give a short intro to that. What is the difference between M and Rem element units? And we'll have another cool exercise.
So lunch is
Yeah. Lunch is half an hour, so
see you in half an hour.
yeah.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Stop with you.